Alright, so I am back in Kentucky, so I'm gonna pick back up on my Kentucky fish series here. And well, the most common fish at this creek is the Spottail Darter. This is a male in breeding modes. You can tell by his second dorsal fins. Normally they do not look like that, but they are longer and there's a lot more details in their second dorsal fin now than there would be in their off season. And with this species group, it's that second dorsal fin which is used to tell them apart. And they get their name from those 3 spots on their tail. But pretty cool. This is a Spottail Darter. And so next up we have a pirate perch. I see these a lot in the coastal plain of the southeast, but this is definitely the furthest north I've ever seen this species. And so next up is this Tadpole Madtom. And notice how much chubbier and stockier this is compared to a lot of other Madtoms. The shape is pretty diagnostic. It's very helpful in identification of the species because a lot of the other species will be a lot more long and more slender. And so the last fish at this spot is a gorgeous Longear sunfish. This is one of the prettiest species of sunfish. But I'm just gonna go ahead and let him go now, and that'll be it for this spot. Alright, so I am at another spot in Kentucky, and this is just gonna be another really quick stop. I just came here for a couple of darters, so here they are. And so first up is the Cumberland Snubnose Darter. And it still has some red on its fins, so that's pretty cool. But obviously not as colorful as it can be. But another snub-nosed darter for the trip. And I'm just gonna let him go now and move on to the next darter. And next up are these Slabrock darters. So these are more members of the bar cheek darter group. As you can see, they got that bar cheek right there. So pretty cool to see these. And so lastly are these fringed darters. These 2 darker ones are males. You can tell them apart from other members of the Spottail Darter complex by their second dorsal fin. But that is only during breeding season. And then this lighter colored one is a female. As you can see, the second dorsal fin does not have those fringes like the males do. But I mean, this probably looks just like a boring drab darter to you, but I mean, I think these are pretty cool. Alright, so I've made a quick stop at this creek for the Shawnee Darter. So here it is. Alright, and so here are the darters. Obviously they're not as colorful as their true potential, but they are still really pretty. Alright, and so I'm gonna go ahead and let these go. Alright, so it is now the next morning, and I am now in the Red River subdrainage of the Cumberland here in Kentucky, and I found some pretty cool fish. And so right here is a brilliantly green small-scale darter. But those green fins just look so cool. But I'm gonna go ahead and let him go and move on to the next fish. And so here are some really colorful redline darters. These are the most common fish here. I've seen a couple of these on this trip, but they've only been like one or two. And usually they are the most common fish wherever I go. But I apparently came back to a location where they are the most common fish. But the rest of this year, everywhere I went, I've only found like one or two of these. So it's good to see that they're common here. But I'm going to go ahead and let them go and move on to the next fish. And so here is a Greenside Darter. This looks like an adult to me. It's a pretty good size. And it still has some color to it. Like it has those red bands on the dorsal fins and a green anal fin. But I'm just going to go ahead and let him go. And so this is how big he is. So, like, he's longer than the width of my hand. And so right here is a young Redtail Chub. This is a member of the genus Nocomis. So these are very beneficial members to stream environments. They build nesting mounds. So they move pebbles and stones around to build these mounds. And not only do they spawn at those mounds, but lots of other minnows also lay their eggs there. But there are several members of this genus. I have bluehead chubs where I live. There are also river chubs and hornyhead chubs. But these are the resident Nocomis over here in the Cumberland. So this is the Nocomis effusus, the redtail chub. But I'm gonna go ahead and let this fish go and move on to the next. And so right here is another northern hogsucker. So it's a pretty cool fish. These do get a lot bigger, and I saw some massive ones in this creek. But I'm just going to go ahead and let it go and move on to the next. And here's a pretty good size banded sculpin I found. These are really common here, and they're usually common everywhere they live. But a pretty cool find. All right, and so this will be the last fish from this spot. All right, so I've made another quick stop at this creek to look for the stone darter. I found some snubnose darters, which are either Cumberland snubnose or saffron darters. But I did find one stone darter, so I'm just going to be content with that one because I need to hurry up and get to my next spot. So I'm going to show you that and one other fish, and then I'm going to head out. So here is the stone darter. It looks really similar to the striped darter from an earlier video. It is also a member of the bar-cheek darter group, as you can see right there. But really cool fish. This is what I came here to see. So I'm just going to go ahead and let him go now. And so here is a rock bass. I saw one earlier in this trip, but unfortunately I lost that footage. It was in some really nice breeding coloration, a lot of black. And this looks like it still has some of that black breeding coloration. But for the most part, they usually look like this year round. But I really wish that last footage would have saved, because that was a really cool looking rock bass. But these are members of the genus Amploplites, and the resident species near me is the shadow bass. But this is the more widespread ranging species, and they can be found north of me, like in the Tennessee, the Cumberland where I am now, and a lot of other drainages in the Mississippi River watershed. But I'm gonna go ahead and let him go, and I'm gonna move to the next spot now. All right, so I made it to Tennessee, and I came here for a crayfish, but I found a really cool darter that you might like. So let me introduce you to the Firebelly Darter. So here is the Firebelly Darter, and it is one of the most prettiest snub-nosed darters, if I do say so myself. But that color is crazy. Such a pretty darter. But I was gonna look for these, but at a different spot. I didn't even know that they were at this creek right here. But sure enough, they're here. And I found a beautiful male. So that is awesome. But I'm gonna go ahead and let him go, and that'll be it for today. So I am going to end the last part of my Kentucky fish video right here. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in Arkansas next.